Hey, good afternoon, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll give it just a couple minutes here to let some other people connect, and then we'll get going. Anson, do you want to do you after my very tiny introduction, do you want to say anything at the onset, or do I throw it to Bob and let him kind of introduce everybody and get things running? Would you have a
Um,
preference?
you can toss it to Bob and
Okay,
just let me want me to hop on and happy to do what you need.
great. Well, he's kind of steering the ship a little bit, so I'll leave it in his good hands. Hey, Bob.
Hello, everyone. So, Joe, I was just able to log in. Are you flipping it to me at this point? Or are we
Ex-
going to,
what'd you say, Bob?
are you flipping to me now, or are we hold for
Not
more?
just yet. Just give it about, I don't know, 30, 60 seconds
Oh, yeah,
and
no
then
worries.
I'll get it going and send it to you.
Yeah, I was just able to join, so couldn't quite hear your.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Roberta, and everybody else is on the line so far. Boy, I was in the State House last Friday, which for those of you who don't ever attend to the Vermont State House or do anything in the Vermont State House was crossover day. And so any bill that doesn't get voted out of its committee where it started by the end of business on Friday to go to the floor of that chamber is dead because we're in the second half of a biennium, so it won't go to the other chamber. So if your legislation doesn't get voted out of committee, you want to pursue it, you have to start all over again in the next session. And boy, the place was a zoo. It quieted down a fair amount by the time I was leaving around, I don't know, 5:30 or so on Friday. But that afternoon, boy, there's a lot. It's almost like end of year. And Anson's familiar with this. Everybody's racing around, scurrying, trying to get that last minute tweak to some bill through so they can vote on it. And you're asked to testify on some, like I was, testify on language that you haven't seen yet, and you're looking at it as you're talking. In our case, it's like what is it, like an 80-page privacy bill, I think. Fortunately, the tweaks were not 80 pages worth, and we ended up where we needed to be, but it was pretty hit and miss all week long. Hey, I guess we've got enough people on the line to get started. There's a few more people that were registered, so they'll catch up to us so I can fill them in later. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Special thanks to Anson Tebbetts, Secretary of Vermont Agriculture, who, for purposes of our Zoom meeting here today, is masquerading as Roberta McDonald as far as his name under his under his picture is
Oh,
concerned. But you've seen him before. You can pick him out. So thank you very much, Anson, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
thank you
Um,
very
we've got other people on the line that are far more knowledgeable about the campaign to help Vermont farmers recover from last year's overwhelming weather-related damage and everything. So I'm going to let them do all the talking. But again, I wanted to thank all of you for joining us. The campaign's been in motion for a little while now this year. And we really wanted to get some credit union support for what's going on. So really appreciate you participating here and listening to what it's all about and finding out what maybe small steps Vermont credit unions can take. And maybe if we can interest some of you in taking some measures, then some other credit unions will follow suit too. So to get us going, I'm going to turn it over to Bob Shears, who you see on your screen in the check shirt. Bob is kind of playing quarterback a little bit for us with the campaign and coordinating scheduling and interviews and different organizations and so on and so forth. And we've got other people that he'll probably introduce and get commentary from others and deal with your questions. So, Bob, it's all yours.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. And for the benefit of the group, in case you don't know, Joe and Molly Mahar from Ski Vermont are our campaign co-chairpersons and are really sort of the forward-facing look of the campaign, and we appreciate all their time, energy, and effort on this. I'm going to first see if Anson would like to make any opening statements before I kind of dig a little deeper into things. No pun intended.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob, and thank you, Joe. And I recognize a few names on the screen here. And thanks for taking some time to talk about what's going on with Dig Deep Vermont. Well, many of you, of course, lived last summer. You know, it rained consistently. Some areas had significant flooding, the July event being the major one. But beyond that, severe weather impacted just about anyone that was making a living off the land. That includes, vegetable farmers, pick your own operations. Prior to that, we had a deep freeze in May, which really a lot of the apple producers, blueberries, grapes really took a hit. And then it continued to rain. And it's been, the flood event itself caused millions of dollars in damage. It could have been, damage to the land. And you can still see, if you travel around Vermont, you can still see a tremendous amount of debris that may be on farmland. And at some point, that needs to be removed and reclaimed and plowed under and taken care of. So a lot of work still needs to be done as far as the land goes. We had some structural problems with some areas. We had some farmers that lost tractors, tools, etc., and then crops. And mainly on two crops we're thinking about here. One is crops that are used to grow feed for farmers, whether they have cows or sheep or goats. So there's tremendous loss of feed. Corn was underwater. And going back to the rain being persistent rain, it was not only the loss, but the lack of crops that were able to be harvested. Some traditionally may get 4 crops last year, maybe 2 if they were lucky. And the 2 they did get, the quality was poor. And just like our diet, when an animal has poor diet, they don't produce as much. They don't have much energy. If you're a dairy cow, you're not producing as much in milk, so there's loss of income there. So we've done a lot of surveys. We had some state granting programs that helped a number of producers, about 133, I think, were eligible. About $3.5 million went to those just in the ag sector. There was about $17 million that went to others, whether it be restaurants, small businesses, in downtowns that were really hit with the flood. But that is just a tiny fraction of the losses out there. And we've said all along, we're not going to make anyone whole with this program, and we're not going to make anyone whole with some of the state and federal programs. It's essentially to try to live for another day. And part of this campaign has done 2 things. One, it's given farmers and producers a little bit of hope. And many times in the farm community, they live off hope. So these micro grants that we'll be giving out are meaningful. They're going to be meaningful. It may buy feed for the week. It may buy fuel for the week. It actually may buy some groceries for some farmers for the week. And we're heading into a new season now. We're hoping for just a very, very boring summer where people can just work the land, do their work, and grow some wonderful food for all of us. So it may be a micro grant that will get them some money, no pun intended, seed money, to our vegetable producers. So for vegetable producers of all the farmers, I think were hit some of the hardest because their crops are coming in. If you go back to July, many of their crops were just about ready to come in, and that was their income. So that all their expenses, all the seed, all the fertilizer, all the energy, all the fuel was right up to that point, and they got wiped out. So that's kind of the backstory. And what we love about this campaign is someone can give $10, someone can give $100, you can give $1,000. It's being managed by the Vermont Farm Bureau. They're the ones that will be, looking at the applications with input from a committee, taking the money in and distributing it out. And it's county by county. So if you really love someone in your county, a farmer or producer, may need some help, you can donate directly to that county, or you can go statewide. Very simple on this Giveo platform. Very easy, a couple clicks, and you can donate And we're taking just as many donations as we possibly can. If you think of anyone maybe in the corporate world that would like to participate, maybe they could message or put something up in their store, make donations. We're open to that as well. But a lot of people are in this that at blush you wouldn't think are in agriculture, but they understand the importance of agriculture to the state of Vermont in that industry, with the ski areas, the credit unions, the Vermont Association of Broadcasters. A lot of people just stepping up because they know the value of food and how important it is to us, our way of life, and our landscape. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Bob and Joe, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the campaign.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anson. We really appreciate you being on the call. I want to just, I'm not going to go over all the things that Anson just spoke to, because we'll cover some of those points in greater detail further on in this presentation. But I think the three big takeaways from this are catastrophic flooding, extreme weather, and crippling rains. And while some of that happened at the end of the year and a little earlier this year, it's the downstream impact that those three key things are, bringing to the surface now. Lack of feed and all the things Anson just mentioned. So the Dig Deep Vermont campaign aims to raise as much money as we possibly can over the course of 6 months. And the funds raised will go directly to the farmers and farm families in need, as identified through the detailed survey conducted by Anson's department. It's a severe weather and flood loss damage survey that all farmers were eligible to apply for. And so we want to have an impact on as many of those farm families as we can. In addition to our sort of founding sponsors, of course, the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, the Vermont Association of Broadcasters, the Vermont Farm Bureau, Ski Vermont, the Association of Vermont Credit Unions, and Farm Credit East. We're proud today to announce two new sponsors, Hannaford and John Deere / United Agriculture. They're going to step up in big ways and really help us, drive the campaign even further. So more to follow on that, but we do plan on or about April 10th to have our first news conference and check presentations to about 6 farm families. And we believe will be some John Deere equipment in there. So we're excited about that. And I think what I'll do, if Roberta doesn't have anything she wants to add on the front end, I'll turn this over to Cindy. But before I do, I just want to say that this was the brainchild, and she gets upset when I say this, but this was Roberta's brainchild. It was a vision that she had that is now a reality. And every dollar we raise is important, because Anson has been getting feedback from farmers he shared with us that really touched my heart. They are beyond grateful for anything we can do. They're very humble. They don't like handouts, these farmers, but we know there's a desperate need. So we want to have as much of a positive impact as we can. Roberta, do you want to say anything before we flip it over to Cindy? You might be on mute.
It's where I was trying to stay, Bob. You're so dear. I think all I want to do is ask you all to listen and just imagine what you might be able to do with us. We've got 20 more minutes of your time, and I know Cindy will use it well. Thank you.
Great. Cindy, if you don't mind, you have screen sharing privileges, and Cindy's going to walk us through a few things on the website and the toolkit. We have done everything we can think of to try to make it easier for your credit unions, your organizations to get involved. And so Cindy is the Chief Marketing Officer for Givio. She'll touch lightly on what Givio is and how they're involved, and then we'll go through things. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar. this is very much a community campaign. We've designed this campaign. Let me take a step back. My name's Cindy McLaughlin. I'm a co-founder of Givio, the technology platform that is running this. And I'm also working with this team to work on the promotions and the marketing and help spread the word. So now that we've covered that, we've designed this to be a community campaign. This has affected farmers in your communities. And, all of your organizations, just the nature of your organization, you're deeply tied to that community. You rely upon the community relies upon you. So we're asking all of you to do everything that you possibly can to help promote this campaign so that we can get some more donations in to help the farmers. And there's actually quite a lot that you can do, and we're here to help you do that. So first, I'm going to take you through, if you haven't already seen the Dig Deep website, this is it. We have here, as I said, this is a community campaign. We've broken this campaign up into a state fund and into counties. So whatever county you reside in, you can help promote a campaign that will directly benefit the citizens in your county. So all of these links go to those individual donation pages, whether it's for Essex or Bennington, or there's the state fund. Some associations have actually created their own versions on their websites of links directly to the campaign. This is something that you can do, and we can help you do this. You can actually directly link to a campaign from your digital assets and mention them in your social media. There's a lot of language here that you can see on the website, all of these stats. I'm going to talk about our media kit in a second, but you can see, we talk about what's going on with the farmers. We have a video here that Anson does a great job presenting. And then you can see a little bit of, people might think, well, what, $5, I have $5 to give. What can that do? Well, it can buy seeds, and that does help. And as Anson said, every little bit helps, and it does make a difference. And the farmers are deeply grateful. Our sponsors, we are working to promote their involvement heavily. We would love to get help in the form of a donation, a larger contribution as a sponsor, promoting Insight, sending out communications. But for our sponsors, we're reserving some space here to really talk about that, because our sponsors are so important to this mission. And I'm just going to show you a little bit. If any of you are in a position to become a sponsor, we are working on these sponsor spotlights. This is one example of what we've done. We're open to ideas, and we want to promote that, us and the partners that are involved with Dig Deep Vermont. So we're all about elevating the community members and the business leaders that are helping push this effort forward. And we certainly want to do that for you as well. In any way that you're helping this campaign, we want to promote that. So this is sort of an opportunity for you to sort of, put that community involvement out there in the forefront, and we're going to work with you to help you on that. We have this toolkit right here, and anybody please stop me if you have any questions. We have this toolkit right here. I mentioned that there are several ways that you can encourage your constituents and your members to get involved. We ask you to directly make the ask, connect directly with the farmers in your community that are struggling, appeal to your members and let them know, hey, we are advocating for them to give them help. Send it in emails, print point of sale signs. And I'm going to show you, we have signs and posters that you can print, and we have relationships with print vendors that can help you print these signs. If you need, and these are QR codes that take people directly to the campaign. So helping your members figure out quickly and easily how they can make donations is hugely helpful. You're all community leaders. I'm sure you're all familiar with the fundraising campaign premise that you have to make a direct ask, right? People love to help, they're going to see it, but most people are busy. But when you make a direct ask, people will act because you asked. And as leaders in their community, they're going to pay attention to that. So we ask you to post these signs in your retail locations. We also have table tents. And if there's any other kind of material that you think would work better for your retail location, let us know. So like I said, donations, sponsorships, emailing your constituents, putting it up on your websites, promoting on your socials. All of these things will be hugely helpful. I believe Anson mentioned, you may know large donors. Introducing those large donors to Roberta and Anson and Bob would be hugely helpful. So these are all the things that, we're really hoping that you can help with. This is your community. Community needs the farmers, and this is a super important time of year, as Anson said. So Bob, did I leave anything out here? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
While he finds the unmute button.
There we go.
Pipe up. I just want to make sure that they see on the toolkit, there's PSAs, if they want to sponsor them in their local radio station, TV station. There are social media ads already built. You can drop them in for your newsletters, as Cindy was saying, but she showed you just the print materials, but every asset you might need is there, and it can be personalized if you need something different. And that's what Cindy can help us with.
Right.
Again, all volunteers doing this for the farmers.
Exactly. We have little business cards. We have an example of what those signs look like.
Under graphic assets,
But
bottom left.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some printed materials. Yeah.
Exactly. Print materials that you can put in your facility. So, and like I said, please, if you're not exactly sure how to implement this, or you would just like some help from the team, contact us. When you have some kind of idea of how you can help and what you want to do, and if you need some assistance from us, please reach out. We want to help you help the farmers.
Will you put the slide up now, Cindy, since you said it?
Actually, I can. Let me stop sharing.
And while Cindy's looking for that, I was just going to add, you may have internal graphic capabilities, and that would be great. But if you don't, Cindy and I can help. If you need to customize something, we can certainly do that and have done that to great effect.
So for any donations, if you want to make a larger donation, contact me. I'll put you in touch with the CFO managing the campaign. He'll help you make that donation as easy as possible. For sponsorships, please reach out to Roberta. And for any PR or promotional support, reach out to Bob. Bob and I will work together on promotions, but Bob is the PR guru, him and his team. That's how together we can move forward and really push this campaign. And we really need your help.
So a quick question, folks. I don't know if anybody else is thinking of this, but obviously, charitable, and this is charitable contributions, by the way. So, in a charitable campaign like this, nobody's going to turn away, a corporate contribution, donation, or sponsorship or something like that. But the underlying ask here of everybody, regardless of size of organization or type of organization, is to promote this campaign and get the word out to consumers and the general public as much as possible, right? So with that in mind, I know, as was mentioned, ski areas have been promoting this to skiers, tourists that come around. You mentioned about Hannaford getting involved and some other organizations like that. Are there any, just by way of example, are there any examples of what some other entities may have done or are planning to do or you think will do in helping get the word out themselves?
Yes, and that's a great question, Joe. And if you don't mind, Bob and Roberta, I'll take this one. Sure. Several things. So for example, Farrell was one of our first supporters. They actually are delivering pre-printed signs to their customers so that they can post those signs in their establishments. And they have been doing that, which has been wonderful. They also made a sizable contribution to the campaign as well. Hannaford will be making a contribution, and they're also setting up donation stations at their stores. So next to the produce, next to their entry kiosks, people will be able to actually make a cash donation. They could actually do that at your establishments as well. Any money that's collected can just be put into an account and sent to the campaign account, and we can help you facilitate that if that's something that you're interested in doing. We have
Cindy, I
some,
think Cabot and their Roundup
that's
would be a
right,
good
Cabot.
example. Yeah.
Cabot has Roundup technology that they're implementing, and DigDeep campaign will be the beneficiary of their Roundup technology and their point of sale. And then we have some in-kind donations. I'm not sure if that relates to any of your organizations, but some in-kind donations coming from some equipment manufacturers.
Places like ski resorts, I imagine, might be doing what any credit union I would think could do, and that's putting up, like you were referencing, like a poster someplace at a desk or whatnot with the QR code on it for donations,
Exactly.
which we've been promoting a little bit, so that people that view it can just snap a picture, scan, and go directly to a donation page.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
one of the easiest things, depending upon your operations, but I have a little bit of familiarity with credit unions. Giveo has a charitable banking app that's integrated with credit unions, and we run a lot of campaigns through credit unions inside of their online banking. And I can tell you the campaigns that do the best are the campaigns where the credit unions actually message their members directly. And in this case, many of them have in-app messaging because it's part of their digital banking suite. But oftentimes they send emails, and that is actually a very, very effective still. People question if email is effective, but it is effective. So at the very least, you can send an email or two over the next couple of months or 3, just simply letting your members know that this is a cause that's near and dear to your heart in your neighborhoods, and encouraging people to make a donation. That alone is hugely helpful.
Cindy, could you also, and Anson, maybe you could speak to it off the top of your head, in the data files, Bob, there used to be, they should understand how many farms or at least a range of farms in their counties or where they're located. And I believe that's in the toolkit.
yes, it is. Yeah.
So you can understand how it's a real local impact that we've trying to do here to make it as direct as possible and benefiting. The layering is if they see it at Hannaford, whether it's Lehman, whatever Hannaford, and they're often just the independents. Wherever there's a Hannaford, they see it. Wherever they go to the credit union, they see it. Where they see it on air because the Vermont broadcasters did it. It may not be one thing you do individually, but it's the cumulative impact of all of us putting signs up everywhere we can.
Right. And I'll add a little bit about Giveo and the ease of this, which I think there might be a question from credit unions, the folks on the call, of how does this impact their customer in terms of using it? It's so fast, it's so simple, it's tax deductible, and it's very user friendly. Cindy, I don't know if you stopped the share, but it's hyper localized, and maybe Cindy, you can show just a quick example of that. I think that might put folks' minds at ease as your customers come into a branch. This will not be a laborious effort. They can see it, they can scan it, they can donate directly to their county or the overall state campaign. But it's just so simple and fast because of QR codes and everything else. So there's a sample donation page for Chittenden. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all countywide, like we said, and you can actually link. You don't even have to take people. If you only have an establishment in one county, you don't have to link to this overall county page. You can link to your particular county and just focus there.
Yeah. So we're trying to make it fast, clean, simple, and easy.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's an auto-generated tax receipt. Cindy, is that the right term?
Yeah, it is. That's all. Giveo Charitable Foundation is the fiscal sponsor for this. Giveo Charitable Foundation issues the tax receipt immediately upon donation. If the donor asks for the tax receipt, they have the option to not get that and to not get any further communications. But yes, it is automatically issued. And I would emphasize once again, the key to fundraising campaigns, we definitely we would love it if you would put up the posters and the signs, but the direct ask, calling people's attention and simply saying, will you please donate? And that's what I'm saying to all of you all right now. Will you please donate? Will you please take some action to help these farmers? That's when people act, is when people that they know ask them to do something that is meaningful. And that's basic fundraising. You're all probably a little familiar with that, but that's the trick.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Joe, it's 4:30. We don't want to keep people, but I wonder why they've got Anson if there are any questions.
Anybody got questions for anybody? Or comments?
Real
Just
quick.
a couple quick, sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, Joe, this is David Bird. Quick
Yeah,
question
David.
on performance. So it looks like if we click into a county, we can see how much has been given by that county, or we click into the state campaign, we can see how much has been given in relation to the goal for the state campaign. I guess my question is a little bit farther down the path, will AVCU be receiving some type of, or maybe at the campaign level, some type of aggregate report to see where there may be more need than other areas, or how we're pacing in aggregate versus the individual counties?
The beauty of that software is that it'll constantly update that for you, David. But I think as far as ACU having a report, it depends on what you want to do. Cindy could give you your own QR codes. It just depends what you're willing to do.
Yeah, and the QR codes are really only going to tell us who is hitting the page. I would say if you would like a report about activity in that county, just reach out to me, and we can give you a weekly report. The donations are up to 3,000, they're up to 10,000, they're up to 100,000.
But the site will do that too, Cindy.
The site will do that too, absolutely.
And we're not going to give out names or anything.
Oh, no.
I don't think you were asking for that.
Yeah, donor privacy is very important. They're the only people that get to see the donor names if the donor chooses to share their name is the benefiting nonprofit, which is Farm Bureau. So it's very anonymized. And yes, you can click into each campaign and get the totals. We have been providing aggregates for the team just so everybody doesn't have to look at 14 different campaigns to see where it is. So if you would like that, just let me know.
That along the lines of what you were asking, David, or was it what you were looking for different?
Nope, that works. Thank you.
Great, thank you. A couple thoughts that occurred to me while you were chatting here, and I think you kind of referenced it lightly in the beginning, Bob, but how long are we expecting this campaign to run? About
July 31st.
July 31st. And I ask because usually, in credit union land, there's ramp up and, all that kind of stuff in any organization. And again, I know we looked at, all those different resources that credit unions and other organizations can access without any restrictions and so on and so forth, but where can they find those?
Cindy, did you want, or
I'm sorry, where can they find what?
the information? Like I'm thinking Joe means the toolkit.
The
which you
toolkit,
can
yes.
you can
Yeah,
access
I'm sorry.
right
Yes,
through the
okay.
website. Yeah.
Yes, the toolkit on the website. There's a link at the bottom. Here, I'll share again.
In the nav bar at the bottom.
The
Right.
bottom nav bar. So if you're on the home page, you can just go to this media and toolkit and then click here, and all of these assets are here. If there's something in particular that you need, just reach out. You know who to contact. Bob and myself. Bob and me. Yeah.
And the library where everything's stored is Image Relay, and all that's being donated by Image Relay, a Vermont-based company, of course. And it's very simple to use. It's very intuitive, and you just click, download, and the assets are there. But we're
And
here to help. That's the most important thing.
But all everybody needs to remember is just digdeepvt.com to find everything, whether they want to contribute themselves or scroll to the bottom and get resources or whatever else. And if one of the wonderful credit unions that's on the line here starts, I don't know, posting stuff to social media or putting signs in their lobby or whatever it is, or doing emails or whatever it is that they decide to do, Is there anything that you want any of, whether it's credit union, ski resorts, anybody else, to let you know that they're doing something and what they're doing?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Please. Whatever you're doing out there, we'd love to see it, even if it's, a smartphone, quick picture, grab video, so that we can archive it, and also share with others, to stimulate ideas on
We'll
what
share
they
it.
can do. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll share it on social media.
absolutely.
It would be great if any of you are able, whatever it is that you can do, if you would be okay with us, and by us I mean AVCU, just sharing in newslines or someplace else that ABC Credit Union has done whatever as an example of support for the campaign, to try to incent other credit unions to do something similar, or something different. But anyway, just to motivate some other people, I think that would be great.
And from my end, at the risk of sounding dramatic, I'm okay. I think most people on the call are okay. But these farm families aren't. They need our help. And we're just trying to do anything we can. And we'd appreciate you doing anything you can.
And I have to go back to Anson with this after, and I think you heard me say this before. When Roberta was first talking to me about this way back when, I'm a guy that's driving in a car, going to the state house, meeting people face to face, on the phone, on a computer screen. Agriculture is the closest I get to agriculture is mowing the lawn and eating salad. And when we had all that flooding in particular, the storefronts in downtown Montpelier, let's say as an example, much less other parts of the state. When you drove through there or nearby to there, all of that was kind of in your face, and, hard not to notice, and everything, and the pictures that you see, and all of that, and people in rowboats in the middle of Main Street, Montpelier, and so on and so forth. But, every spring in Vermont, we're driving by, flooded farm fields, and it just, doesn't, or for me anyway, didn't register the way that it did, when you're going through places where you never see water, a city street. And so it's just, when you watch some of the videos in the resource website, and you look at some of the data and the dollars of damage reported and whatnot, it really is, one, sad, and two, devastating for, all these farm families, many of whom are credit union members, I'm sure. Since we have 65 to 68% of Vermonters that are members of credit unions, let's assume 65% of farms are members of a Vermont credit union. So anyway, we really appreciate whatever you can do to help promote this and get the word out.
Thank you.
Anything else you need to know? Anybody, or Anson, or anybody else? Any parting words?
Just thank you for your time this afternoon, your consideration. Every little bit helps. You never know who's listening or watching. And some of the smallest things in life turn into the biggest things. So you all know that. But we appreciate your time. And we're going to get to work, and hopefully recovery will come soon for many of our Vermonters.
One last thing, I did have a question in the chat box about a copy of this presentation, and I don't think, Cindy, all of this was like a PowerPoint or everything, but I do have I will have a recording of all of this. And so if everybody's okay with it, I'll make that available to everybody that was on the line and anybody else that wants to find out about it.
And
But couldn't
repeat
attend.
the website when you release it, because your point is very well taken. We're also used to seeing digdeepvt.com.
Right.
And it's all right there, hopefully.
Right. Thank you, Anson, Bob, Cindy, Roberta.
Thank
And
you,
thank
Joe.
you, everyone
Thank you,
else, for
Joe.
joining and listening to these kind folks today.
Thank you very much.
Farmers will appreciate whatever you can do.